What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Cjthecheesedj here, and we're back with an Arc update video for you guys today. And guys, they have just released a massive update for Arc, changing a bunch of creatures, adding a bunch of quality of life changes, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So we're going to go over it real quick in the Discord, which is where they've released the patch notes, and we're going to go over it. So first off, we've got the balance section, and we have the Bloodstalker. So guys, they have reduced the piercing damage from 85 to 65%. So when you would get grappled by a Bloodstalker, they would pierce through your armor and damage you. That's been reduced to 65%, so you'll essentially take less damage. As well as that, players grappled now get a 20-second immunity buff from being webbed by the Bloodstalker again. So you can't constantly be webbed by the Bloodstalker over and over again. As well as that, it no longer unequips players' melee weapons when webbed. So at least now you can actually fight back against them. Now, the next big thing is the Wyverns, and honestly, this is kind of a killer for me. I'm not a fan. I think they've tried to balance this stuff out for PvP aspects to try and bring a new sort of fresh take on PvP, and it's kind of sucky. So they've reduced the Wyvern HP gained per level by approximately 20%, which is quite a lot. That's quite a big difference. As well as that, they've reduced the armor penetration on Lightning Wyvern beam attacks by approximately 20%. They've buffed the Fire Wyvern's breath attack as well by 30%. I don't know why they didn't just say that. So the Wyvern's right-click attack is the Fire Breath, and that has been buffed by 30%. Prevented Void Wyvern from performing a right-click attack unless mounted by a rider. So the breath attack that the Void Wyvern does can no longer be used without a rider on it. As well as that, they've adjusted the Wyvern base drag weight to match the Crystal Wyverns so that they behave similarly against items that take this into consideration, such as the net ammo. So now all Wyverns can be netted. But you know what's interesting? I don't know if they've included the Ice Wyvern as well in this, because it says Fire, Lightning, and Poison. Have they just forgotten that there's an Ice Wyvern as well? Quite possibly. So their drag weight is a lot smaller, so they can be netted and stuff like that. As well as that, we've got the Noglin here. So the Noglin is now targetable by Plant X species. As well as that, it takes reduced damage from Plant X when attached to a player. So Plant X species can now shoot at Noglins when they're attached to a player to essentially kill the Noglin off the player. They've buffed net ammo, so they've increased the durability usage on the Harpoon gun for net ammo specifically. Cost per net fired increased by approximately 250%. As well as that, they increased the weight of the ammo from 0.2 to 2.0. So you'll actually be able to hold less ammo because of the weight increase. Now, another cool buff that they have given to the Mammoth is actually a pretty good one. So it looks like they're trying to make Mammoths more viable for PvP. And that is, they have prevented being dismounted from creatures when you are buffed by the Mammoth. So when the Mammoth does its little battle cry roar and the drums going on, you won't actually get dismounted from your creature if you're in the radius of the Mammoth, which is actually pretty good, because once again, it's going to make the Mammoths a little bit more viable for PvP. As well as that, Mammoth War Drummer now gets a 40% damage mitigation whilst drumming. So if you've got a drummer on the back of the Mammoth and they're getting sniped, they'll now take 40% less damage, which is actually pretty good. Now we come down here to the Shadowmane. And all in all, it's a pretty big nerf to the Shadowmane, which kind of sucks because, honestly, these guys were one of the best creatures in the game. A lot of the first initial debuffs aren't really that great, but they have reduced the armor. So we'll go over that. So they've reduced the range the stun attack can target horizontally by 20%. So it now won't be able to actually go as high as it was before, which means flies can essentially fly a little bit higher and they won't be able to get targeted by the Shadowmane. As well as that, they've increased the holding spacebar jump distance by 20%. So it can now jump a little bit further. As well as that, they've reduced how many targets the Shadowmane can chain stun when its right click is held. So it's now 7 targets instead of the 15 targets it could target before. As well as that, it's increased the cooldown of the teleport attack from 4.5 seconds to 15 seconds. And each target added increases the cooldown by 2 seconds rather than 1 second, which kind of sucks. And as well as that, they've increased the length of the immunity buff after a player has been stunned by the Shadowmane from 30 seconds to 50 seconds. So now you've got an extra 20 seconds before you can get stunned again by the Shadowmane. But here's the big one for me. They've reduced the passive creature armor from 124 to 80 and reduced its armor gained per level by 35%, which is pretty massive, considering that you can't actually craft saddles for these guys. I feel like the 124 was okay because, you know, you can get Rex saddles, you can get other Ascendant saddles that go up to that sort of armor, but the Shadowmanes don't have a saddle. So they've just got that natural inbuilt armor, which kind of sucks. So they've nerfed it now. So when you tame a 150 Shadowmane, instead of it having 124 armor, it's now got 80 armor. Which to me sucks for the PvE players because, you know, these guys were very viable for bosses. Nonetheless, let's keep going on here. So we've got the global stun immunity buff. So the following dismounts will now respect an overriding dismount immunity buff when the effect is created by any of the following creatures and items. So these guys will pretty much get stunned now, is what it's saying. So the Void Wyvern, the Shadowmane, the Net Gun, and the Flashbang, which is the Plan Z grenade, which is interesting. So we've got a Misc balance here. We've got the prevented the Exomech from filling turrets that have recently fired. They've also increased the Megalosaurus damage with the nighttime buff by approximately 25%, which is a little strange. I'm not sure why they decided to increase that for. I guess maybe for Aberration PvP. As well as that, they've increased tech turret HP by 100%, which is kind of crazy. So now we go on to the quality of life and Misc changes, which is kind of interesting. So we've got the increased slots on the Industrial Grinder from 60 to 120. So you now essentially have double the amount of slots in an Industrial Grinder. They've expanded the Tech Cloner register range by 3 times the amount. They've reduced the Tech Surveillance console stack size from 100 to 5. You now display a HUD whilst holding H with Tech Gloves equipped, which display player location and upload timer, which is kind of interesting. This is actually a really cool one. Increased Magma Source smelting output by 100%, which is, it's about bloody time, because what's the point of having a walking volcano if you can't freaking smelt metal at a decent rate? So I believe before it was 1 metal ingot every 20 seconds. So now it'll be 1 metal ingot every 2 seconds, which is a lot faster. They've also enabled auto harvest on Anki, so now you can actually set your Anki up in the mountain, set him to auto harvest, and he'll automatically harvest it. The 2 big things, enabled breeding on rock drakes. Hallelujah, it's about bloody time. So we can now breed our rock drakes as well as our snails. I don't know why the snails are here for. I guess they just missed out on the insect TLC buff that happened a couple months ago. So pretty interesting changes. As well as that, we've got some exploits that have fixed. Fixed a bug where tech striders and mechs will not regain health in stasis. Fixed a bug where mech modules will lose durability when released from cryopod. That's been around for ages. 2 new admin commands: cheat drain water and cheat drain food. So if you ever want to get rid of someone's food or water, you can do that. Fixed a bug where the dedicated storage box would ignore stack modifiers in server config files. Fixed a bug where Plan Z species were no longer healing dinos. Fixed a bug where soap would remove textures from some structures, because you could use soap to get rid of the paint off your structures. And fixed a bug where cosmetics on the Shadowmane would not retain their color. So all in all, a pretty interesting change of things. The fact that you can now breed rock drakes is really exciting. I think the Industrial Grinder extra stuff and the Magmasaur and Anki stuff is actually really good as well. It's about bloody time, because the Dodic's been able to do this for ages, and you're literally riding on a volcano. And it's refining metal at the rate of a refining forge, which is dumb to me. The Shadowmane debuffs I feel like are a little unfair. The stun attack and the teleporting strike I'm kind of okay with, but the passive creature armor from 124 to 80 kind of is shitty, because there's no way for you to get a saddle. You know, you can get Rexes with 150 armored saddles, any tame really that uses a saddle up to 150 really with the tech replicator. Shadowmanes, you kind of can't do that though, which sucks in my opinion. Mammoth buffs are good. I can see them being a little bit more viable for PvP now. And the Wyverns, I'm a little bit concerned that they didn't include the Ice Wyvern in this. But nonetheless, guys, that's going to wrap the video up for today. You can find the patch notes yourself. I'll leave a link in the description. It's on Discord. Nonetheless, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe down below for more, and I'll catch you in the next one.